He was my rollie. Run up a check cause I want me a rollie. They gon' think that I...
Hey, welcome everybody to this week's segment of Music Business 101. I am Count Zero from Count Zero Records, and today we will be talking about the music industry giants. Now, when I say music industry giants, what do I mean? I dedicated the previous segment to major labels and how they operate and what is to think about them, and maybe I'll do a second segment on that as well. But today I want to talk about the companies that impact you as an artist the most and you don't even know it, and those are the tech giants. The tech giants are companies like Google, Facebook, Spotify, Apple, TikTok, Google, Tencent, and other large technical-driven companies who are mostly the channels upon which we nowadays sell music. And people seem to think or have the idea that it would be a really great thing to become, for example, a Spotify artist, because then Spotify would advertise them, or they would become a featured artist of the one or another distributor, and that is something that they want to do. And instead of going to a major label or an independent label, it's now becoming a growing trend that distributors and stores, actually end customer distributors like Spotify, offer artists a direct access to them as a distributor, and the artist a lot of advertisement. And the question is this a good idea or not? And is this third party in music distribution something that you should consider or not? The first thing that I want to mention, and this is essential for everybody who is in the music business and wants to amount to anything other than nothing, quite frankly, is how tech giants make their money. And the way the tech giants make their money, be it Google, Facebook, even Tesla, TikTok, Spotify, etc., is not by actually selling products. You have to understand that how they make money is by what we call valuation. The process is simple, really. You start a company, and when that company is worth, let's say, 1,000 euros or dollars for you in America, the registered value of that company is 1,000 euros. So you, as the owner of the company, would have the equivalent of 1,000 euros. Now, when you go to the stock exchange and then list your company, or you don't go to the stock exchange and you just sell some shares, what drives that value up is generally the amount of users you have on your platform. It's not how many products you sell, it's how many users you have. Other investors will come in and pay a higher amount of value per share for your company the more users you have. So the business model of large tech companies is entirely user-driven, which means that their one and only and most beneficial goal is to have more users. So if TikTok has a valuation that is about 3 times the amount that Spotify has in terms of what the company is worth, it is entirely because of their users, because neither TikTok nor Spotify are actually making any kind of money. And they actually don't care, because how they do their business is to have an increase in users, an increase of valuation, which gives them an increase when they're selling share packages, and that is what makes them money. So if you take a company, it's worth 1,000 euros or dollars, and then you have 200 million users, which is great and awesome, and then all of a sudden the company is worth $500 million, and then you sell it, then you have made $499,999,000 as a gain. So their business model is to sell their company or sell their company shares after they have accumulated a lot of users. And this is the business model that the telecoms had all over the world in the 90s. They would essentially enter the market, undercut everybody's prices by triple, or make the prices a third, attract a lot of users, and then immediately sell that mobile phone operator. Now what that did was to lower the end price market significantly, so users were happy because they didn't have to pay as much for their phone. And it's the same thing that's happening now. Spotify users, TikTok users, everybody's like aesthetically happy because they do no longer have to pay any kind of meaningful amounts for music. And the ones who are benefiting from that are people like Spotify and other distributors who are making the money. So in the end, the users are happy, the tech giants are happy. There's just one problem in that equation. The artists aren't getting anything for it. The artists are literally getting scrap because the goal of tech giants is to minimize artists' payouts as much as possible. At best, zero. Many artists have been approached by large companies like YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, etc. and said, look, if you're gonna give us your catalog, which means your songs, for free, we're gonna feature you on the webpage. Now, a lot of artists take that and they're like, yeah, we're gonna do that, it's awesome. And I would also put a lot of serious consideration into that. But you have to understand that these tech giants understand their business more than you do. They know you will be the flavor of the month, maybe the flavor of the week, maybe the flavor of the day. You will be there up, you will have your 10 minutes of fame, and they will have your complete stuff for free for the rest of eternity. And that's how it works. So they pick up more and more acts for free, and they get this music for free, which means that they don't have to pay anything for the artists. Now, the transfer of wealth in that case is from the user, who is paying less and less, but still they're paying, to the tech company. That means artists are not in this business model. And this is the answer to, should I use a tech giant as my distributor, as my record label, etc. If you know what you're doing, sure, but know this: they're not in the music industry. They're in the industry of taking advantages of artists, more even so than record labels and even majors. You have to understand that a major label still is a music business. They want to sell your song. Tech giants don't. Tech giants don't care if your song performs right or wrong, or if somebody plays it or not. They want to have it in their catalog and use it. And they want to pay as little for it as they can. But in the end, if you join Spotify as a distributor and you have 0 plays on Spotify, they don't care, because they don't pay for your music anyway. And they're not getting paid from your plays, they're getting paid from their amount of users that increases their companies or their corporate value. So once you understand that these people get paid more the more they rip you off, then you get a clearer picture of who you should work with. Now, I've always made it a business principle to only work with people who are in alignment with my goals, my personal business goals. Which means that if you're selling, I don't know, I'm gonna make a stupid example, but let's go with it. If you're the person selling sugar, the person selling sugar replacement is probably not a natural business partner for you. If you're the one trying to sell music, a tech giant is probably not the business partner for you. If you're selling, I don't know, wood, somebody making plastic is probably not the right business partner for you. These are all very general examples, but the point is that your direct competitor who will benefit from your detriment. And I'm not saying that these are factions that can exist, like bread and butter. You know, if you're a bread manufacturer, the guy making butter, probably your friend, because people like to eat bread and butter. But if your business partner is somebody who benefits from you sucking, from you failing, then it's not the right business partner. The point is that Spotify pays out 85% of their revenue to 15 artists. They pay everybody else pretty much nothing. And those 15 artists are getting pressured left and right. And no matter what they pay these artists, it doesn't really matter because they're already paying everybody else nothing. And guess what? They're not really paying them because the payment model of most of these tech companies, if they have one and if they actually pay you something, is not to pay you for what your service is worth or a certain price. They will pay you a share of what they make. So let me tell you what that means. That means if you go to the car dealer and there's a Ferrari. That Ferrari costs, say it's a used one, $100,000. How much is that car dealer going to sell that Ferrari for? $100,000. You can negotiate with him. He's going to say, okay, I can come down a little bit if you pay immediately in cash. We're going to, agree on something, on terms. But then the tech giant goes there, and you know what the tech giant says? I'm going to give you 1% of the money that's currently in my left wallet for that Ferrari. And the car dealer says, well, how much is that? And the tech giant says, I'm going to tell you later, but first you're going to give me the Ferrari. That is the business model and the payment model they have. You are paid upon an algorithm that's based upon the money that they're making. If they're not making money, they will give you 0.0001% of nothing. So in essence, they're never failing. They're only giving you a fraction of what they actually make. They're not giving you a specified price. Now this is different with direct song selling like iTunes, because there one person buys one song and the artists get their share. But on these streaming, especially flat rate streaming models, the artists get essentially an imaginative number that the tech giants come up whenever they feel like it, because they can change it as they want. So they will offer for that Ferrari a secret price they will not tell you unless you sign the user agreement, and you will only find out about the price when they actually pay you, and then you have absolutely no option to change that price. So if they pay $1 for the Ferrari, that's fine. If they pay 10 cents, that's fine. If they pay 1 cent, that's fine. So they get to pay for the $100,000 Ferrari whatever the hell it is they want to pay. Now ask yourself, will that be my distributor and will that be my record label? That's the question that any content creator should ask themselves, not only musicians but also video content creators, because if you are working with a distributor who is actively benefiting from your economic downfall, then you should consider your options and maybe work with somebody who actually benefits from your success, like an independent label. For example, here we only take money when you make money. Count Zero Records will never charge you anything unless you make money. So we only take a small share out of what you make. If you don't make anything, we don't make anything. But if you don't make anything, Spotify makes even more. So who do you want to work with? Somebody who works for you or somebody who works against you? And that is the question, and the business models are probably not going to change as long as the business model of tech giants is valuation driven and user driven. They will not give a cent about anybody in the music business. And that's all for today. My name is Count Zero from Count Zero Records. If you liked this video, and you probably haven't watched it to the end, like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you want, and I'll see you next week.